I'm a wildlife photographer who's debunked 3 Bigfoot hoaxes in my career. So trust me when I say I never thought I'd be the one with footage I can't explain. 3 weeks ago, something stepped out of the tree line during an elk stampede, looked directly into my camera, and spoke 2 clear English words that made my blood run cold. And I have the audio to prove it. But here's what's keeping me up at night. If they can speak our language, how long have they been listening to us? Hey guys, I'm Jake Mitchell, and what I'm about to show you has scientists completely confused. I mean really confused. People who study language for a living can't explain it. Computer experts who check for fake videos say it's real, and animal behavior specialists who have watched gorillas and chimps their whole lives say they've never seen anything like this. In just a second, you're going to see 18 seconds of footage that changed everything I thought I knew about what lives in the forests of British Columbia. You're going to see something step out from behind the trees, look right at my camera, and speak words in English. Clear words. Not growls or howls or the sounds a bear makes. Actual words. Now, before you click away thinking this is just another blurry Bigfoot video, let me tell you who I am. I'm 28 years old and I've been a wildlife photographer for 6 years. My photos have been in nature magazines. I've spent hundreds of nights alone in the woods photographing bears, wolves, eagles, and elk. I've also debunked 3 Bigfoot hoaxes. 3 times I've looked at videos people swore were real and found the zipper on the costume or the editing mistake or the guy in the background holding the camera wrong. I'm the guy who doesn't believe in this stuff. Or at least I was. Last October, I drove 8 hours north to a remote area I'm not going to name. I was there to photograph elk during their migration season. Every fall, huge herds move through the valleys looking for food before winter hits. It's beautiful and a little dangerous because the bulls get aggressive. I'd been planning this trip for months. I had all my camera gear, my tent, enough food for 5 days, and a satellite phone in case of emergencies. The spot I picked was perfect. A small clearing next to a stream with elk trails running right through it. The first 2 days were normal. Cold nights, quiet mornings, and a few decent shots of elk passing through at dawn. I saw some deer, a fox, and heard coyotes at night. Normal forest stuff. On the third morning, something changed. I woke up at 5 in the morning because the ground was shaking. Not like an earthquake, like thunder, but coming from the earth. I unzipped my tent and looked out into the gray light of early dawn. Elk were running, not walking or grazing like they usually do. Running hard. At least 30 of them crashing through the clearing, their eyes wide and white showing. They were terrified. My brain did what it always does. I grabbed my camera. It was sitting right next to my sleeping bag because I never go anywhere without it. I didn't even think. My hands just moved. I turned it on, checked the settings by muscle memory, and started filming the stampede. The sound was incredible. Hooves pounding dirt, branches snapping, the huffing breath of animals running for their lives. Something had spooked them, maybe a cougar or a wolf pack. I kept filming, following the herd with my lens as they ran past me toward the far tree line. That's when he stepped out, right at the edge of the forest where the elk had just come from. At first, my brain tried to make it normal. It tried to tell me it was a bear standing up. But bears don't stand like that. They wobble. Their arms hang weird. This thing stood straight with its shoulders back. It was at least 7 feet tall, maybe 8. Covered in dark brown hair that looked wet or matted. The early light caught the edges of its shape. I could see the outline of muscles in its arms and chest. Huge arms, longer than a person's arm should be. My camera was still recording. I was frozen. My finger was on the button, but I couldn't move anything else. The creature raised both hands up, palms facing me. Not like it was surrendering, more like it was saying, stop or wait. Then it spoke. The words came out slow and careful, like someone choosing each sound on purpose. They run. You stay. That's what it said. 3 words in English with a voice so deep I felt it in my chest. The cadence was wrong, though. Each word separated too much. They, run, you, stay, like it was translating in its head first. We made eye contact, I'm sure of it. Through my camera screen, I saw its eyes lock onto mine. They weren't animal eyes, they had thought behind them. Intention. For 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours we stared at each other. Then it turned sideways. took 2 huge steps that covered 10 feet easily, and disappeared back into the shadows of the forest. Just gone, like it was never there. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the camera. I stopped recording and just stood there in my boxers and jacket, barefoot in the cold dirt, trying to breathe normally. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I looked at the spot where it had been standing. Nothing, no movement, no sound. Even the birds had gone quiet. I looked down at my camera screen and hit playback. My thumb was trembling. The footage started, the elk running, the shaking ground, then the figure Sasquatch, the hands raising, and the audio. Oh God, the audio, clear as day through my external microphone. They run, you stay. I watched it 4 times standing right there. Then I went into my tent, zipped it shut, and sat on my sleeping bag with the camera in my lap. I watched it 6 more times, checked the file properties. I looked at the timestamp, 18 seconds of 4K footage. Every frame is clean, every pixel where it should be. I've seen bears stand up hundreds of times in my life. I've photographed them. I know what they look like. This was not that. This was something else. And it spoke to me. I packed up my camp that same morning and drove home. 8 hours in my truck with that footage sitting on the memory card in my camera bag. I didn't listen to music. I didn't stop for food. I just drove and thought about those 3 words over and over. They run, you stay. When I got back to my apartment in Vancouver, I transferred the file to my computer, backed it up on 2 external hard drives, and then I didn't touch it for 3 weeks. I went to work editing photos from other jobs. I went to the grocery store. I saw my friends. I acted normal. But every night before bed, I'd sit at my desk and watch those 18 seconds one more time. Finally, I called my brother Marcus. He's a sound engineer who works on films and commercials. He understands audio equipment better than anyone I know. I told him I needed him to look at something, but I didn't tell him what. He came over on a Saturday afternoon with his laptop and his good headphones, the kind that cost $600 and can pick up sounds normal people can't hear. I showed him the video without saying a word. He watched it once, his face completely blank. Then he asked to watch it again. Then he put on his headphones and closed his eyes and listened to just the audio 3 more times. When he finally took the headphones off, he looked at me like I'd just shown him a magic trick he couldn't figure out. "This isn't edited," he said. "I can tell when audio has been added in post-production. This was recorded live on your microphone. The vocal patterns are wrong for a human, though. The depth of the voice suggests a larynx positioned differently than ours, like it's deeper in the throat or the chest cavity is bigger." He rewound to the part where the creature speaks and played it again on his fancy software that shows sound waves. "See these frequencies," he said, pointing at the screen. "Human voices don't go that low naturally, not without special effects. But there are no effects here. This is a real voice from a real throat, just not a human one." We sat there for a long time not talking. Finally, Marcus asked me what I was going to do with it. I told him I didn't know. He said if it was him, he'd keep it private. "People are crazy about this stuff," he said. "Your life will get weird." But I couldn't keep it to myself forever. 2 days later, I posted it to a private forum for people who study cryptozoology, just people who research unknown animals. I thought maybe 50 people would see it and give me their thoughts. I used a fake username and didn't include any location details. Within 6 hours, someone had downloaded it and posted it to YouTube, then Twitter, then everywhere. The next morning, I woke up to 4,000 messages. My phone was buzzing so much it fell off my nightstand. The video had 40 million views in less than 3 days. 40 million. News websites were writing articles. People were breaking down every frame, and everyone wanted to know who I was and where I filmed it. I had to make my social media accounts private. I had to change my phone number. It was like my whole life exploded overnight. Then the experts started reaching out. A linguistics professor from a university in Seattle contacted me through email. She'd analyzed the audio and said the phonemes, the individual sounds that make up words, were structurally human. But the way they were produced suggested a vocal anatomy that shouldn't be able to make those sounds. "It's like watching someone play piano with their feet," she wrote. "Technically possible, but completely wrong for how the instrument is designed. An AI detection lab offered to examine the footage for free. They ran it through every program they had. No digital manipulation detected, they announced publicly. If this is a costume, it's beyond anything Hollywood has created. Even the way the hair moves is consistent with real fur, reacting to wind and movement. A woman who studies primate behavior at a zoo watched the video and called me directly. I don't know how she got my new number. She said the body language bothered her in a good way. The hands raised with palms out is a de-escalation gesture, she explained. It's submissive, protective, like it's trying to calm a situation down, not create a threat. Gorillas don't do this. Chimps don't do this. This suggests a level of social reasoning we don't see in other primates. She sounded excited and scared at the same time. But not everyone was excited in a good way. I started getting death threats. People who didn't believe the video was real called me a liar and said I was trying to get famous. People who did believe it was real told me I'd get the creature killed if I revealed the location. I got hundreds of messages every day calling me every name you can imagine. Then a production company reached out and offered me $500,000 for the exact coordinates, $500,000 just to tell them where I was camping. They said they wanted to film a documentary. My hands shook when I read that email because my mom has medical bills from her cancer treatment last year. That money would pay off everything, everything. I could help her. I could quit worrying about her losing her house. Conservation groups started emailing me too, begging me not to share the location. One message said, if you love nature, you'll protect this. Another said, remember what happened to the last untouched places we found. We destroyed them. I lay awake at night thinking about that money, thinking about my mom, thinking about what my footage would bring to that forest. 3 weeks after the video went viral, I made a decision. I drove back to the site alone with all my camera equipment. I told myself I was going to document the area one more time and then decide what to do. When I got to the clearing where I'd camped before, I saw something that made me stop walking. 3 large stones were stacked on top of each other in the middle of the open space. Not rolled there by accident, stacked, balanced. And on top of the stones sat an elk antler, fresh, still had bits of velvet on it. This wasn't random. This was placed. I walked around it slowly, filming everything. The stones were big. Each one probably weighed 30 or 40 pounds. Someone or something had carried them here and stacked them carefully. I found tracks leading away from the stones toward deeper forest. The prints were massive, longer than my size 11 boot by at least 4 inches, pressed deep into the soft dirt near the stream. I followed them for maybe 50 yards until they disappeared on rocky ground. That's when I heard it, a vocalization from somewhere up the ridge. Not words this time, just sounds. But the cadence was the same. That same careful rhythm. I grabbed my audio recorder and captured 30 seconds of it before everything went quiet again. I stood there until the sun started setting, but nothing else happened. On the drive home, I knew what I had to do. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe. I don't want you missing out on tomorrow's new Bigfoot story. Thanks for watching. 2 days after I got back from my second trip to the site, a package showed up at my door. Not from Amazon or any delivery service I recognized. Just a plain brown box with no return address and my name written in black marker. Inside was a USB drive wrapped in a piece of notebook paper. The note was handwritten in shaky letters like, whoever wrote it was old or their hand was tired. It said, my dad filmed this in 1994. He sold the location to people who said they wanted to study them. They found empty caves and blood. Don't make his mistake. That was it. No signature, no name. Just those 2 sentences that made my stomach drop. I plugged the USB drive into my laptop. There was one video file. The date stamp said October 7th, 1994. Almost 30 years ago. The footage was grainy like old camcorder quality. Lots of visual noise and washed out colors. It showed a clearing in the woods during daytime. The person filming was hiding behind some bushes because you could see branches in the frame. For the first 20 seconds, nothing happened. Just trees and a small stream in the background. Then movement. 3 figures walked into the clearing. Not one. 3. The first was huge, maybe the same size as the one I'd filmed. Dark hair covering its whole body. It walked upright with long, smooth steps. Behind it came a smaller one, still bigger than a human but definitely shorter. Lighter colored hair around the face and shoulders. And between them, holding the bigger one's hand, was a juvenile, a young one. It was maybe 4 feet tall, 20 brainy, with reddish-brown fur. It moved like a kid moves, looking around at everything, picking up a stick and waving it, staying close to what I assume were its parents. They walked to the stream and the big one crouched down, cup and water in its hands, and drank. The smaller one did the same. The juvenile tried to copy them but splashed water everywhere, and you could see its mouth open like it was laughing or making noise. The person filming zoomed in. The camera shook, but you could see their faces clearly for just a moment. The eyes on the big one were dark and intelligent, watching everything, protective. After about 2 minutes, they walked back into the trees and disappeared. The video ended. I sat there staring at my screen for a long time. A family. That's what I just watched. Not a monster, not some scary creature. A family going to get water together, teaching their kid how to drink from a stream. I read the note again. They found empty caves and blood. My chest felt tight. I understood what that meant. Someone had paid for the location. Hunters or researchers or whoever. They'd gone in with guns or traps. And when they got there, the family was gone. But not without violence. Not without someone getting hurt. I picked up my phone and opened the email from the production company. The one offering me $500,000. I started typing a reply. Deal's off. That's all I wrote. 2 words. I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I opened my laptop and started deleting. Every GPS coordinate, every location tag in the metadata of my photos, every backup file that had information about where I'd been. I went through my cloud storage and my external hard drives. Anything that could lead someone to that clearing got erased. It took me 3 hours. My hands were sweating the whole time. That was $500,000 I was deleting. Money that could help my mom. Money that could change my life. When I was done, I set up my camera on a tripod in my living room. I was going to make one final video. One statement to everyone who'd been asking questions and demanding answers. I pressed record and sat down in front of the lens. My throat felt dry. I took a breath and started talking. Yes, the footage is real, I said to the camera. I'm not lying. I'm not trying to get famous. What you saw in that video actually happened. Something walked out of the forest, looked at me, and spoke English words. But no, I'm not going to tell you where it happened. I'm never telling anyone where. I know that makes people angry. I know some of you think I'm a coward or I'm hiding something, but I need you to understand what's at stake here. I paused and thought about how to say what I was feeling. I've seen what we do when we discover something new, I continued. We don't just study it, we capture it. We put it in cages. We poke it and test it and turn it into entertainment or money. We say it's for science, but really it's because we can't stand the idea that something exists without us controlling it. I got an offer for $500,000 just to share the GPS coordinates. $500,000. Do you know what I could do with that money? But I also got sent a video from 30 years ago. A video of a family, a mom, a dad, and a kid. And a note that said when someone sold that location, they found blood. My voice cracked a little. I cleared my throat. He spoke to me, I said, not as an animal reacting on instinct, as someone making a choice to communicate. He raised his hands to show me he wasn't a threat. He told me the elk were running, but I should stay. He was protecting me, warning me. That matters. That changes everything. The question isn't, does Bigfoot exist anymore? We know the answer. The question is, what kind of people are we when we find something that clearly wants to be left alone? What do we do when we hold all the power? I looked directly into the camera lens. I choose to protect them, I said. I choose to let them have their forest and their privacy and their lives. If that makes me a bad scientist or a bad journalist, I'm okay with that. Some things are more important than proof. I hit stop on the recording. I posted the video that night. Within an hour, it had 1 million views. The comments were split completely in half. Some people called me a hero, said I was doing the right thing, and they respected my choice. Others called me selfish, said I was keeping important information from the world. Scientists commented saying they were frustrated, but some of them understood. One wildlife ethicist wrote, "Perhaps the most significant discovery isn't proving they exist. It's choosing not to exploit them once we know." News outlets picked it up. Podcasts discussed it. Arguments happened on every social media platform. My phone exploded again with messages. But this time I didn't read most of them. I'd said what I needed to say. The decision was made. The location would stay secret. And I would live with whatever consequences came from that. 6 months have passed since I made that video. 6 months since I told the world I wouldn't share the location. Life has moved forward in some ways and stayed frozen in others. I'm still a wildlife photographer. I still go into the forest with my camera and my tent. I still take pictures of bears and elk and eagles. But everything feels different now. When I'm alone in the woods, I pay attention to sounds I used to ignore. A branch snapping in the distance, 3 knocks on a tree trunk, the feeling of being watched. I notice all of it now. I get interview requests every single week. Documentary producers, podcast hosts, news programs. Everyone wants me to come on and talk about what I saw. They offer me money. Not as much as that first offer, but still good money. I say no to all of them. I've said what I needed to say. The video is out there. People can watch it and decide for themselves what they think. I don't need to keep explaining or defending my choice. Some mysteries don't need to be solved. Some secrets are worth keeping. The original footage is still online. It's been viewed over 200 million times now. 200 million. That number doesn't even feel real to me. People have analyzed every single frame, slowed it down, zoomed in on the face, enhanced the audio, measured the height based on the trees in the background. Everyone has an opinion. Some experts say it's definitely real. Others say it has to be fake even though they can't prove how. The arguments go in circles. But here's what nobody can argue with. Something was recorded. Something spoke. And the audio analysis keeps coming back the same. Those words were produced by a vocal system that doesn't match human anatomy. Linguists have spent hundreds of hours studying those 3 words. They run. You stay. Some think it was a warning, like he was telling me the elk were running from danger and I should stay put to be safe. Others think it was a command, like he was telling me not to follow. A few believe it was just describing what was happening. A simple observation. The elk are running and you are staying. Nobody knows for sure. But what gets me is that he chose English. Out of any sounds he could have made, he used words I would understand. That wasn't random. That was intentional. I still go camping, still take jobs photographing wildlife. A few weeks ago, I was up north working on a project about migratory birds. Different location, different forest, miles away from where the original footage was filmed. I set up my camp near a lake and spent 3 days getting shots of geese and ducks. On the last evening, right before sunset, I took a photo of my campsite. Just a simple shot of my tent, in the lake, and the trees behind it. The light was beautiful, orange and pink reflecting off the water. I posted it to my Instagram with a caption that said, "Some neighbors are worth keeping." Just that, nothing else. I didn't notice it at first. But people in the comments started asking questions, zooming in on the photo, enhancing it. In the far tree line, barely visible in the shadows, there's a shape. It's not clear. Could be a tree trunk. Could be a shadow. Could be a person standing very still. But it's big, taller than the surrounding bushes. And if you look close, you can see what might be shoulders, what might be a head. The comments exploded. Thousands of people asking if I saw it, asking where this was, asking if I had more photos. I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't add a location tag. I didn't post any follow-up pictures. I just let it sit there. Let people wonder. The truth is, I don't know what that shape is. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something. I took that photo quickly, not paying attention to the background. I was focused on the light in the water. When I got home and people started pointing it out, I looked at the original file on my memory card, zoomed in as far as I could, and I still don't know. But I do know that for those 3 days I was camping there, I never felt alone. I heard sounds at night, movement in the forest. And once, just once, I heard 3 knocks on a tree, slow and evenly spaced. I didn't go looking. I stayed in my tent. And in the morning, there was a pine cone sitting on top of my cooler. Just one, placed there like someone left a gift. My footage has been viewed over 200 million times, but here's what isn't up for debate anymore. Someone spoke, not something. Someone. A being with enough intelligence to choose communication over violence, enough understanding to use a language that wasn't his own, and enough trust to step out of hiding and make himself visible. That happened, I have the proof, but more importantly, someone else chose to protect that being in return. I chose to keep the secret, to value their safety over money and fame and proof. That matters too. The video is still online. You can watch it right now if you want. You can listen to those words as many times as you need to. You can read all the expert analysis and all the arguments and all the theories. You can decide for yourself what you believe. But I want you to remember something. Some mysteries are more valuable and unsolved. Some secrets protect the things that matter most. And some neighbors are worth keeping, even if you only see them in the shadows. The location is still unknown. I'll never share it. Not for money, not for science, not for anything. And you know what? I sleep better because of that choice. I look at myself in the mirror and I don't feel ashamed. I feel proud because for once we found something incredible and we didn't destroy it. We didn't capture it or cage it or turn it into a tourist attraction. We let it be. Late at night sometimes, when my apartment is quiet and I'm editing photos on my computer, I'll hear 3 soft knocks, not on my door, in my memory. And I'll think about those eyes looking at me through my camera, those hands raised in peace, that deep voice saying words meant just for me. They run, you stay, and I stayed. In more ways than one, I stayed quiet. I stayed protective. I stayed human in the best way I know how, by letting something wild stay wild. And I'd make that same choice again, every single time.